you and Rand, how clear is your guys' conversation of where you want the direction to go? Like how are you guys just on the same page all day long?
Incredibly clear. Him and I hit it off in the interview process, and he was a guy that I just connected with immediately. You know, you meet people and you just, there's just something about the connection. You're like, this is the kind of person I want to go to work with every day. And it has been that way from the minute we stepped on our first Zoom interview through today. It's been everything I thought it would be in terms of our working relationship and our vision, and how we want to execute the vision and what it's going to take to get the team competitive to where we feel like we can contend for the division and for the playoffs and ultimately for a Super Bowl someday. That we've been on the same page with everything, and it's been really, really fun. Like, it's not like that everywhere, as you guys know. You don't always get that connection, and it's been incredible. And he's got a great feel for what football is supposed to look like. We see it the same way. And man, when you go into a free agency period and you're in lockstep, and with Chad Brinker as well, where you're like, this is the direction we're heading, you feel really good about it. And then the coolest part about it is you get to a certain point in free agency where things don't always, we didn't get everybody we initially thought we were going to get. And so a guy goes here and a guy goes there, and now you look around. Well, the difference in the good teams in free agency is how fast do you pivot. Mm-hmm. And so we lose 2 or 3 guys, and all of a sudden we look up and we're like, we should probably check in on Calvin Ridley and see where that's at. Yeah. We got money we didn't think we were going to have. Mm-hmm. We lost a guy or two that we thought we were going to get back, and we didn't. Let's check in. Let's see where it's at. And so then that process started, and kind of swooped in the middle of the night and stole Calvin out of there. And that was because you got a fluid. You're able to pivot.
Yeah.
You have a plan in place, and when the plan doesn't go exactly the same, you know where the next spot is. And I thought Ram was masterful in the free agency process.
God, that's awesome.
With like your philosophies and the way you want to kind of cultivate your first job being a head coach, mm-hmm. like what you inherited with the Titans, mm-hmm. from the familiar faces who are still here. Yep. What are some of the directions and vision you wanted to kind of take this team internally in the building?
Yeah.
From what you had understood most previously.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing about the Titans, I think really for the history of the organization in Nashville, is that it's always been a tough ass team, regardless of the players that have been on the team. There's been a tradition of this toughness. Every time we ever played Tennessee, it was like, buckle up, boys. Like, you're going to get it's going to be everything you got, everything they got. And it's going to come down to the end. And that's how I've always viewed the Titans. Every time we've ever played them for the years that I've been in the NFL, it's just, there's always been good players here. It's always been tough teams. They've always been well coached. And that part is the part you want to stay. That's sort of like an ethos of the organization. You want that to be a part, mm-hmm. of who they always are, regardless of who's in charge. And the other part that I believe in is that you want guys that love being around each other, that love being in the building together, and you want an environment that they love working with their coaches too. And so there's a feeling that you want when you wake up in the morning and, mm-hmm. you got to go to work. And it's one of two ways. Either you're like, fuck, man, I don't want to go to work today.
Mm-hmm. I've been there a couple times.
Yeah. Or it's like, hell yeah, I can't wait to get to work. And mm-hmm. that's what I'm going for is that second option, where guys wake up and can't wait to be in the building because they love what they're doing and who they're doing it with. And there's a connection amongst the people that are doing it with. I think that's what's unique about where we are in Tennessee now with Rand and myself, is that it's a very open building, and there's a lot of back and forth. Like, you see Ram walking in the hallways and he's out at practice and mm-hmm. he's dapping guys up and he's talking to them in the lunchroom, and I'm around and I'm visible, and there's, our personalities play off each other. And I think we hired a coaching staff that's the same way. And I hope the players feel that when they're in the building. I think if you ask most of them, they would feel that, at least to start, that's how it feels. But I want guys that love coming to work and playing football together, because everybody's got money, everybody's got talent. And I think that's what separates teams, is what kind of locker room do you have, and what kind of people are in the building. And I think that's what matters the most.
When we went into the facility, it seemed like everybody was way more loose. Guys were coming up to us saying, hey, like, it's different. Like, the energy's different. There's a higher vibe here. Mm-hmm. That doesn't take away from anything from John and Vrabel. Like, there was a Patriots way type of vibe where buttholes are tight when you go into a team meeting, and you can get exposed if you have a bad play at practice. So it was like everyone's got to be on their shit to know that on Sunday we got to go win. Like, how long, once you got in the building and got with the guys, did you see the transition of them, like, all right, letting their shoulders down, letting their guard down a little bit, of being like, okay, we can we can mix it up a little bit with the coach.
Yeah, I
Because
think
head ball coach and a GM, that's a tough two guys to mix it up with and feel comfortable,
Yes,
unless you're
as
like
you
a
guys
vet
know.
that's been in the game
Yeah.
for a long time.
and I still feel like guys get nervous sometimes around me, and I don't. It's new for me being in the role too. I realize how much
Because you're
more.
not the position coach
Yeah,
or
I
coordinator.
feel like
the cool guy.
I'm learning more about the weight of my words and my interactions and how much it matters to guys when maybe you don't think twice about it, but it might be the only time you interact with the head coach for a week.
Mm-hmm.
And like that sticks with guys. I remember even as a player how that would stick with me. And I'm much more mindful of that now than maybe I ever was. And even as the days go by, it stands out sometimes. But I think that there's a lot of ways to win in the NFL. There's not one set way that you have to take. And I think as long as you're kind of authentic to what you believe in, you can build the program in the image that you think is the right way. And I just believe that when you come to work and there's a looseness and a joy in the process, it makes a really hard profession a little less hard. And I think when you get into the part that when it is really hard, when you're in December and it's tough and you're banged up and it hurts to go practice every day, there's something other than the money motivating you to go out there and play with the boys, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what you want. And I think an environment that's got some joy to it and some fun and some energy, I think takes a little bit of the edge off of how hard it can be. And it can be hard, you know, it's, even when everything's great, even when everything works well, there's always days where it's hard. And I think that if you have a locker room in a building that's conducive to a little bit of fun and excitement and authentic. I mean, I am who I am. I don't want to try to be anybody else. And that's just always been my personality. And I think that hopefully that shows up in what our team looks like.
Yeah, you ain't lying. I mean, playing football every day is a grinder, especially like you were saying later in the year, it gets dark a little earlier. You're feeling all your nicks and
that
bruises.
last week of October is like the worst.
Is he going to hook
worst
us up with a
week.
walkthrough today, or we're going to have to lace him up? And you're right too, like jokes you might say as a position coach or a coordinator might hit a little differently to an athlete. But if you're saying a joke as a head coach, like the athlete could be driving home like, fuck, does he think I'm just trash? Like
Right.
You're in your own head. But if he gives
It
you
is.
something positive, like I remember Shanahan one time he came up, interception machine. This was like my rookie year. I had 2 interceptions in a practice. I just remember just riding on cloud 9 thinking like, yo, the head ball coach noticed me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's got to be like interesting knowing that your words do carry like a different weight to
That part is
everybody.
very different. Yeah. If I walked in one day, I walked in to talk to one of the assistant coaches like I normally would, like when I was a coordinator, and I'm kind of busting balls, but I kind of see like the reaction on his face was like, oh, what, like, did I do something wrong? Am I in trouble? And I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't. I probably need to tone that one down and make it not feel so like
Tone it down or tell whoever that is, don't be so soft.
Yeah.
Like, we're having a good time here. It's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Jay would talk about me making plays in space, and I would literally just be like, man, I know the front office, the whole coaching staff must think I just can't tackle in space. But you're just in your head.
In your head about everything.
Like, fuck, he just said that joke. Like,
I know.
oh.
I don't think people understand how much mental warfare goes on between players and coaches.
No.
I don't know if y'all try to do mental warfare, but it just
I don't.
feels
I'd rather
like,
not. I'd prefer not to do that if I can.
It's just so difficult though, because you're right. Like the words of a head coach, when you say anything, if like an O-line coach says to you, you could easily write that off. Whatever.
Yeah.
A head coach says it to you, you're calling your girlfriend, your wife,
It sticks
family
with you.
members. Be
Yeah.
like, he said this. Like, what do you think?
Yeah.
Good, bad, or ugly. You're doing whatever you
The
can.
entire offseason, you're working on that one thing that was kind of said.
Right.
That could
And it
just
just
maybe-
rings in your
and-
brain forever.
And then as a head coach, he might not even have thought twice about what
No,
he said.
that's the worst part.
Yeah.
It might have just been like an in passing comment,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you just all in your head about whatever it was that was said, and the head coach might have forgot he even said it.
Yeah.
You know?
With being a head coach for the first time and taking the first team meeting, addressing the team,
Mhm.
what are the nerves like? Because every head coach I've ever had,
It's a lot. There's some nerves in there for sure.
I bet.
Because you want to make a good impression where, and again, we've had like 12 team meetings since the first one. So like the novelty does wear off like after you get to the first one, but that first one you spend a ton of time thinking about, and you just want to make sure that when you come in there that the guys look at you and go, yeah, I like this guy. I'm willing to listen. As you guys know, you can come in there sometimes and maybe the first one's rubs you the wrong way and you're kind of like, I don't know about this cat, you know, like,
yeah.
and so you just want to make an impression good enough to where you've bought everyone's attention for another week, you know,
right.
and hopefully they continue
making sure
buying.
everybody has the same facial expression as the first time. You know, you're not losing the crowd.
Right. And I try to be, my team meetings, I try to be to the point. You know, I'm not a preacher. You know, I don't need to, but I do have messaging that I want to get across. And so I spend a lot of time thinking about the messaging and what I'm going to say. And hopefully that in a very short 8 to 10 minutes, I can convey whatever that is for the day. And I only have one a week, so I don't overdo it.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear me talk that much. I know that.
In the fall, you only have one a week?
In the fall, when the season starts, it'll be a Wednesday and a Friday.
Wednesday and Friday.
Wednesday
Leave
and Friday. Thursday
to the rest of the squad.
Yeah, Thursday is the own day, and then you have something the night before, which can be sometimes as short as 2 minutes, or you may go a little longer if it's depending on the mood of the team and the game you're getting ready to play. But try to limit the amount of times I have to go preach in front of everybody.
What kind of coach are you night before a game?
Dude, I was just thinking the same thing.
Oh man!
Like, are we watching a movie scene?
I got that. I
Preaching
love
something. Like, what's your go-tos, bro?
I very much try to keep like the pulse of like what you might need for that week. You know, I did something kind of similar with in Cincinnati on Saturday mornings. I would do this tie-in of the game plan, and I would mix in whatever messaging I thought was, you know, might hit home.
Give an example.
Like
this messaging.
Yeah,
this movie scene. If it's movie.
No, I used actually used quite a bit of the Man in the Arena documentary one year. I kind of took pieces of it over the course of the season, and then like every other week I might have something from that because there was just so many good things from that documentary. I thought about like what a championship team would feel like, and so I try to use as many mediums as I can to help convey whatever message I'd be trying to convey. And I even do that now. I had one even for our rookie meeting. There's this clip on the internet with there's a ball boy a handful of years ago, one of the soccer teams, I think it might have been like Tottenham, where this ball boy is like super dialed into his job, and he gets the ball. It's on a throw-in, but the ball comes out of bounds, and he has one in his hand, and his job is to get it to that guy as quick as possible. Well, he jumps out of his seat, tosses the ball to the guy. They throw it in on like a fast break, and they score because they catch the team in transition because this ball boy is like on top of his shit.
I think I've seen that clip. Yeah,
you've probably seen it. It was viral. I don't know if it was viral, but it's out there. And I showed it to the rookies, and I was like, "This is like talk about finding a role and doing it well. Like here's this 10-year-old ball boy or 13-year-old ball boy that knows that if I do my job really well, it's going to help us." And that's it.
Don't they bring him to the locker room after this?
Yeah,
right?
they bring him.
They give him like a jersey.
Yeah, and so like things like
nuts?
that. It's wild. It was. I mean, it's. You know, and then the manager goes over. Like, look at how fast he in the transition, right? Ball's in his hand. He's running. They're on sides, and then he ends up with hitting him in transition for a score. And like, I think it was a huge game too. So then the manager's dapping him up and like things like that. If I can, anything I can find, I use quotes from guys in the NBA. I've used Steph Curry, anything that reinforces the message. Yeah. And like I showed the rookies that, and it was like, look, man, find whatever your role is, whatever's asked of you, like make it the most important thing. And if you have a chance to make a play, then you make the play. That's how you get recognized. And so it's stuff like that. Yeah. I can fire and brimstone it pretty good when I want to, but I try to save those in my back pocket for
brimstone, brother.
For a rainy day.
For when you really need it.
When you talk about playing the Tennessee Titans, how like it was effort, toughness, and they were very well coached.
Yes.
What are the core values you're seeking to bring in with the Tennessee Titans with this new wave?
Just in terms of like what I want our team to look
like?
Yeah,
the things you're going to preach. Like usually a lot of times like coaches have like, these are 3 things that we are going to be built on as our foundation as a team. Like as you being the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, like what are those 3 pillars or however many pillars?
Yeah, there's a little bit of nuance to it, but the main one is we have 3 C's, and it's character, communication, and connected team. And like those are the 3 things that I think matter the most is the character guys. Are they coachable? Are they dependable? Are they positive? You know what I mean? Are those the guys you want to be around as a teammate? And then when you talk about the communication part, like the best teams in the league are great communicators, verbal, visual, you know, especially up front. I use that example all the time. It's like you got to pick up blitzes on 3rd down to win in the NFL, and you got to be on the same page. And sometimes it's loud as shit on the road and you're on a silent count. And how do we get the calls communicated? How great are we communicating? It also falls into the off the field part too. Like when something's going on, make sure we're communicating. If you're going to be late hey coach, I'm going to be late to the team meeting and you called me at 7:30, that's good communication. If the meeting's at 8, like I got an issue, I need help taking care of it, right? We can work through that. If you tell me at 8:05 after you show up that you had a car issue, that's bad communication.
Mm-hmm. That's a fine.
That's a fine.
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking not to do that. So
yeah.
Those 3 C's, and the last one I think I've kind of touched on is the being a connected team and being a part of something that's bigger than yourself. Like, again, everybody's got money, everybody's got players. There's talent in the league. Every game comes down to one possession most of the time. And what's the separator? And to me, it's the teams that when you look at them, you feel it when they play. You're like, man, those dudes are playing for each other. Like, you feel it. And you guys have been on those teams. You played against those teams. You're like, damn, these guys are on top of it. And you feel it from their sideline. You feel it from the energy when they make a play. Like, those are the things that you want to see. And I think the football part's a prerequisite. Like, you got to be able to be detailed and have discipline. That stuff that's like not negotiable. That's expected. These are those things, the character, the communication, and being a connected team are things that I think make the difference when all that other stuff is equal.